Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the ASO Planning and Complexity Work Group. Welcome to its 15th meeting. Welcome to Ghent. Welcome to our department, AMT. And welcome to Belgium, the land of complexity, if I may say so. Because I dare to say that there's hardly a better place in Western Europe to study complexity in planning than there is in Belgium. To give you a little bit of an idea of the country that you're in, the 40 days. First of all, Belgium has quite a complex governmental structure. As you may know, there are in total 7 governments, which partly overlap. There's one federal state, and then there are 3 territorial governments, the Flemish, the Walloon, and the Brussels Capital Region. But there are also community-based governments, a government for the Dutch-speaking community, a government for the German-speaking community, and a government for the French-speaking community. The territorial governments, they take care of, for instance, territorial matters, so for instance, spatial planning or energy mobility, and the community governments take care of the social matters. However, as we might be aware, all of us, is that territories and communities do not necessarily overlap with each other. And that's where the complexity starts. And it actually comes to a accumulation in Brussels. Because next to being the capital of Belgium, Brussels is also the capital of Flanders. And it hosts its main main governmental institutions. However, Brussels is not located within the Flemish region. The city of Brussels itself does not have one municipal organization, overarching municipal organization. You might, of course, see the territorial government of the Brussels capital region as such, but it has 19 municipalities that together form Brussels. And of these municipalities, some speak Dutch and some represent the French community in a city where not everybody necessarily speaks Dutch or French, because both Arabic and English are growing and prime languages to many. And next to that all, the city is also the capital of the European Union. And as a major real estate owner and an employee in the city, the European Union cannot be seen as an important urban governing actor as well. So there are quite some governments active in the capital of Belgium, Brussels. And although governance was not the main source of inspiration for the founding fathers of complexity sciences, it somehow does not feel a surprise that Brussels was the background to the Pribogine group and the foundation that they laid to complexity theory. And then, to add to complexity, spatial planning in Belgium. Or actually, I should say spatial planning in Flanders, because spatial planning is the responsibility of the territorial governments. There are some who say that before 1962, spatial planning in Flanders was absent, non-existent. Of course, there have been historically building regulations and town plans in the history of Flanders. I'll show you a picture of that. This is Belgium, by the way. Welcome again. This is a parcellation and alignment plan from Ghent from the late 19th century, and it actually illustrates that there was something like spatial planning going on. Like I said, it's parcellation and alignment, but basically this was a form of urban renewal, leading to demolishment of poor neighborhoods and construction of new. But over the last centuries, Flemish society has had a great appreciation of individual ownership, self-determination, and a very strong, often cooperative, third sector. State regulation and control in the form of a thing like zoning plans, was indeed absent. After the First World War, there was quite some devastation in Belgium, and following on the international trends, people started to discuss spatial planning in Flanders during the 20s and the 30s. But this ran aground in ongoing deliberation and, of course, Second World War that came along. After the Second World War, new deliberations started for spatial planning in Flanders, but due to the urgency of post-war reconstruction and, again, governance complexity, most of Flanders spatial plan development remains ungoverned. In 1962, a law was finally established and zoning plans were made for the Flemish region. However, the execution of this law and of later governmental planning initiatives remain sometimes minimal and often diverse. Throughout its history, Flemish spatial development has been characterized by muddling through, ad hoc measures, and policies. This, for instance, resulted in a famous sprawl of Flanders, which you can again see here, and a practice in which whoever takes the initiative is leading. This accounts for the relationships between governments, provinces, and municipalities, who sometimes work in conflict with another and sometimes in coherence, but it also accounts for private and individual initiatives, cooperative development in urban and rural environments, and issues such as shared mobility, which thrive in Belgium and in Flanders. To some, Belgium's governmental complexity and the weakness of the Flemish spatial planning system seems to be problematic. However, especially to those who are in favor of a more uniform and governmental-led planning. However, for those who work from a complexities perspective, Flanders offers an excellent laboratory for new ideas and approaches. Flemish spatial planners on the ground have grown sensitive to complexity. And instead of longing for rigidity, coherence and control, they have become experts in dealing with limited resources, means at hand, and situational conditions. However, until a few years ago, a planning school in Flanders that specifically focused on complexity was missing. When Luc Bullens entered Ghent University as full professor and head of our department, he started with an anthem on the horizontal metropolis of Flanders. And he specifically addressed its diffuse character, its relational form of co-evolutionary and ongoing spatial hugging, in which regular planning paradigms such as top-down and bottom-up simply do not account. It is this flat mythology of planning that AMP has been building up over the recent years. This is us celebrating Christmas last year. I unfortunately am not on the picture because I missed the party, but I think the rest of my colleagues are. I work as a postdoctoral assistant at AMP. As AMP, we focus on research on co-evolution, complexity, and post-structuralism in planning. On themes such as health, mobility, flooding, city making, civic initiatives, communities, harbour development, evaluation, renewable energy, and the like. With this research, we aim to bring co-evolutionary and complexity perspective on Flemish spatial development more and more to the foreground. And there seems to be no better place to do so than in Ghent. Ghent is a city of rebellion and experiment. The citizens of Ghent have been historically known for their anti-authoritarian character in order to gain more freedom and civic rights for the city. And they played, for instance, an important role in the emergence of Calvinism, industrialization, workers' unions, socialism, and the like. And this is not just a romantic retrospect on the history of the city. Also today, the atmosphere of rebellion and experiment is vivid in Ghent, as we will learn tomorrow during a workshop with city authorities. So it all comes together. Complexity and co-evolution in Belgium, Flanders, and in Ghent. But before I will tell you a little bit more about the theme of the conference, I would like to give the word to Bart House. He's the coordinator of the ASO Planning and Complexity Work Group, and he will tell you a little bit about the history of the group so far.
Yeah, first time? Yeah. Can you hear me? I think so. What a wonderful introduction. It's really a delight to be here, Bijtske, at your institute, and apparently also the best place to study complexity. So many thanks to Ghent University, especially to Luc Bullens and the department for hosting us. And I think it's crucial that meetings like these, at which we so explicitly explore new branches of the academic debate, get a podium and a place to meet. So thank you very much. And of course also for the hard work the two of you, Barbara and Bijtske, did in preparing all this. And I'm quite sure we will have wonderful days. So a few words about the group and what it is about. The aim of the group is actually to explore what complexity thinking may offer us as planners, as urban designers, when we connect to the fascinating concepts of nonlinearity, self-organization, and co-evolution. And to see how these concepts can help us in understanding the development of neighborhoods, cities, and regions, and also what they can learn us about policy making. So it's an open group. It's literally open to everybody that is interested in complexity thinking, both to those that are new to it or those that are more familiar to its concepts. And in general, we produce papers together, we write calls together, and it's varying from more empirical studies to more theoretical or conceptual work, as will probably also be the case, or I'm quite sure actually, in this meeting. So the group already has quite a history. It started in 2005. One of the founders is Pedro, with Nikos Kabidimitrou from UCL, I think. And at the beginning, the group was considered to be rather exotic, I think. Not too much embraced by the planning community. And over the years, this changed, and our ideas became more and more appreciated and embraced also by the community. So you could say complexity is hot. And of course, for us, that's not a surprise. But nevertheless, it's great news. So what is the output of the group? As I will show some of the products, I think there's a variety, and of course there are some editorials, 2 books, and also some special issues. And let's browse a bit to the titles of the chapters to get a feel of what we're doing. So I think we can distinguish a set of contributions that is on the role of simulations in understanding these pattern formations, for example, on the connections between complexity science and planning theory, and conceptual rethinking what planning is about, and also a group of people that concentrates on governance and policy making. So in 2016, we also published 2 special issues. Actually, they both emerged out of previous meetings. One with Paulo in Alvero on self-organization and planning. And also one of the Manchester meeting of 2014, connecting complexity, planning and urban design. And of course, I think it's great to profile ourselves this way, but I also think writing together, publishing together, helps to even better understand each other. So I sincerely hope that also this meeting again can be a starting point of publishing together, working together, starting projects together, because that keeps the motivation high and actually helps to expand even more. We also designed a kind of tool to stimulate that a bit, but Bijske will tell you more about this. Once again, thank you for being here, and let's have some inspiring days. There you go.
Thank you. I'll continue with that microphone because that's just experience that's easier. I will tell you a little bit about the theme of the meeting today, or the coming days. The theme is co-evolutionary in planning and crossing over with complexity. The first idea behind this theme was the transdisciplinary character of complexity and the way its language enables us to cross over between disciplines, but also, as we experienced in this group, I think before, to cross over between milieus. Not only between different disciplines, but also between theory and practice. Somehow complexity theory enables us or gives us an understanding to talk about what we see in theory, but also what we experience in practice. And I would like to quote Isabel Stengers, again one of the founding fathers of the Eugene group back in the days. Complexity is an experimental science which makes us think, feel, imagine and act. Therefore, during this meeting, we do not only want to discuss the mere metaphorical or the theoretical or the empirical use of complexity, but also the way it enables us to actually act as planners. And we ask the question, what are the abilities that planners need to work in complexity? What capacities do they need? What skills do they need? This is something that we would like to discuss throughout the meeting. Um, we have clustered our wonderful papers that we received, 18 in total, along 6 themes. I'm not going to read through them, because you can also find that in the program. This afternoon we will start with transitions and co-evolution. But there's definitely more than just paper presentations during this meeting. As you might have noticed, we have an interesting hallway and coffee room. I think, no, it's in the hallway, isn't it? Yeah, it's all in the hallway. First, there are some posters that you can take a look at. These are made by students from Sharon Roll from Iowa State University, and she asked the students to think about how the theory of complex adaptive system can actually enable planners to intervene in the complex systems and situations they are dealing with. She will tell more about these posters tomorrow morning in the paper session, but you already can start taking a look at them. And you will find also links to online editorials or pictures made by the students. So this is definitely something interesting to do during our coffee breaks. And then the other interesting thing in our hallway is our washing line, or actually I should say his washing line, because it was his idea. I think on the coffee tables,
yeah, near the washing line.
Near the washing line, you will find different kinds of cards, and we put them there for you to write down any ideas that come up during this meeting, during coffee, but you can also bring them into this room and fill them in while you're listening to presentations. But we would like to ask you 3 questions. First, so far, what have I learned from this meeting? You can already start filling in that right now, but also at the 3rd day, then it's up to you. You can also fill in more during the days. But we ask this question because we want to sort of like sense what are the red lines during this meeting, what new ideas pop up, to have that input from you. Second question is, let's work together on the following projects. Like what already told, there have been some books, some editorials, and some special issues. What should be the projects that we as a group can work on the coming years? We would like to hear from you. And the third question, let's advance our understanding of, which is basically some kind of inventory for upcoming meetings, also maybe upcoming editorials, new themes, things that we have overlooked so far. So please come up with your ideas, and once you've filled in the cards, put them on the washing line, take a look at the washing line once in a while, react on each other's comments, make it a living thing. It will be up during the entire meeting, but on Friday during lunch, Wart will take the cards down and use them as input for a closing session on Friday afternoon. So you have 2 days to be creative and fill it all in. And before we start with our session, we have a very interesting keynote, I think, from Professor Robert Geyer. He works at the Lancaster University as the Department of Politics, Philosophy and Religion, which I think is a very interesting combination, actually. But he's been working on complexity thinking and public policy for many years already. And he published, of course, a lot of books, Handbook on Complexity in Public Policy, Complexity, Science and Society, and the like. And he worked on themes such as international relations, health policy, education policy, drug policy, diabetes management, even Europeanization and political theory. And I think therefore he's an excellent person who can speak about the crossovers between various disciplines. We can also start thinking with him how his experiences relate to our experience in planning. But I think he also combines the theoretical standpoint with also experience in ongoing practices on the ground. So that crossover he can also teach us about. After Robert's lecture, there will be a short opportunity to ask him some clarifying questions. But soon after, and we would like to save most of our discussion for that moment, we'll have a round table. And in that round table, we will have, of course, Robert, we have Gert de Roo, we have Luc Bullet, and we have Philippe Dreek. And we have Hannes Couvreur, who will moderate the session. And we will, in that session, together reflect on Robert's lecture. but also on the question, what abilities do planners need to act in co-evolution? And before we start, I would also like to ask you that question, and the question, what have you recently learned about dealing with complexity yourself over the recent times? Think about that question for a while and use that as input, as your input for the roundtable session as well. So that was all I had to say about the program. You can also find it in the workbook. You can also find the abstracts of all the papers in the workbook. I think the full papers, they were online, but you can look at the abstracts while sitting here. So let's start and give a warm welcome to Professor Robert Keijer.